And as Peter said, you do have a lot of wood in Turkey. So, using building information modeling and 3D and the different tools that forms and shapes this wood, I would think there is a market for products of fantasy. Now, we shall also see wood used in other kind of buildings, but we are going to lift ourselves a little, and I know that a lot of you have been sitting tight quite long. The last presentation is about other kinds of buildings at other places in the world. And after that, we're going to have a small discussion before we have something to eat and drink. Gudmund Stokke, founder and partner of Nordic Office of Architecture. You've been both into airports and health facilities, and you're also engaged to plan the new airport here in Istanbul. So you can lift us up. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll lift you up. All stand up. No, dear colleagues, it's a great pleasure to be here in Istanbul, this glorious world city. Very exciting. I'm the founding partner of Nordic Office of Architecture. We are in the order of 130 people and 21 nationalities. And I must say, no Turkish in our office at the moment, so maybe that will change in the future. I'm going to talk about airports today. We work in a lot of different fields too, but today's theme is airports. And looking at airports, which is a very sort of special type of buildings, many special problems in itself. We have some design principles. I think I just dwell a little on that because there are complex structures, and to me, the most important design principle is to create simplicity, and that is probably the most difficult thing in an airport: create simplicity, because it's so complex and there are so many contradictory aspects of the design. So the tendency is for this type of building to become very complex. It has to be very flexible because needs change over the time. It must be very easy to expand without interrupting the operation of an airport. It must be environmentally friendly and, of course, cost effective. But finally, it's so important when you think, oh, this is a kind of machine that works with suitcases and people and aircrafts and so forth shooting through, to create spaces that are good to be in for the passengers, for the people working there, daylight, views out, spaces, as I said, the quality of space and the scale, because airports tend to be big buildings, and it's fundamentally important to create a sort of a human scale when you design airports. So that's still, a lot of people are a bit sort of excited when they are going out traveling. They're a bit nervous, and my opinion is that the airport should calm you down, make you feel comfortable. In Gardermoen, which is the first airport we designed, we knew at that time, back in 1990, nothing about airports, hardly anything, and we developed these principles over time. And the idea is that Gardermoen is a very simple structure, as you can see, with a central processor, the central building where you have the check-in, the security controls, the shopping, and the baggage claim. Then to the left, it's domestic. To the right, it's international traffic. Very simple. And by creating this simplicity, you also create flexibility, and it makes it easier to expand, which I will show you a little bit later. And this is kind of the key elements in the airport. And also, one thing is the space and all I explained before, but then it's the materials and it's the details. And it's the combination of the complex issues, the spaces, the materials and the details that creates a sort of holistic architectural statement, which hopefully people will enjoy and which will work over time. This is from Gardermoen. Also, this picture here shows the railway station to the left, the central building in the tower, which is also a very conscious design, the horizontal versus the vertical, and creating these elements in a harmonious totality. Floor plan, as I said, simple, central processor and the two wings. And also transparency. Transparency in an airport I find very important because for a start, it gives you a view into the building, but more importantly, when you're in there, out of the building, creating atmospheres, showing different times of the year, different times of the night with different kinds of light penetrating into the building, is all part of making this into something which I hope is architecturally pleasing. This sketch shows the basic concept of Gardermoen Airport in Oslo, which was one big space, the ground level with all the technique below, one big space, and into this space you put in a level for the departing passengers, you put building inside, but it's a very simple composition of the big space with elements standing in this big space. This shows from the central hall and shows also the attitude towards materials. It's natural materials giving the color and the texture of the interiors, with the concrete columns, the steel sort of Y-shaped branches sticking out, and then wooden beams spanning, in this case, about 50 meters, and creating this atmosphere, and the light then filtering through the perforated metal ceilings up above. This combination of natural materials on the floors, the concrete, the steel, and the wooden beams, that's been repeated in all elements of the airport, in the railway station, in the central building, in the piers. And it has also become the theme for the expansion that we are working on at the moment. Here's a view from above, looking down into the central hall, and different parts of the interiors. One comment is that when we go back 20 years or more, the airport was an airport, where you went there, you got rid of your suitcases, went out and to the aircraft. Now, of course, it has changed because now the commercial areas, the shopping centers and the restaurants and all that has become a major element in the airport, financing much of the operation. So you have to twist and look differently at how you combine a very efficient sort of logistic machine with an environment that also offers retail, food and beverage, other forms of recreation for the traveling public. And also, I was speaking about detail because, you know, when we do these huge buildings, it's so important to look at the details and how do people experience being in the building. And at the Oslo airport, we've been very conscious that elements that you come close to, they are good to look at, that's one thing, but they're also good to touch. So the wood, the concrete columns. The concrete columns are specially treated so that it's almost like kind of marble to touch. They're good to touch. So it's the tactile experience, the visual experience that is combined in the design. A couple of years back, or a few more, in 2009, there was an international competition for the expansion of Oslo Airport, which we were lucky enough to win. And what we did was to it's more or less doubled in size. So now instead of having one pier to this side, one there, we get one going straight ahead, combining international and domestic traffic, and almost doubling the capacity of the airport. The walking distances to remain more or less the same, which is part of how you experience an airport. Are the walking distances long, medium, long, or short? And of course, we always attempt to make them as short as possible. And also here, we for the expansion on the left-hand side, we use the same wooden beams as we have in the original design, the railway station in the middle, and then bringing the same sort of thematics into the building, where the people coming up from the railway station into a central distribution area. All the time, again, when you do airport design, with so many people flowing through, make the wayfinding intuitive. Not depend on signage, but the building is actually going to tell you where you're going. And this is an attempt to do that, and I think maybe it'll work. This is upstairs in the main check-in hall, where we see the remains of the old railway station, showing you where the railway station is. And the roof over this part is different because you want to enhance the railway station's position in the terminal building. Because railway station's connectivity is a major importance in terms of environment and sustainability when it comes to airport design and planning. Here this shows the whole new airport with the new pier towards us, and the central processor being expanded towards the right. Just a little bit about the new pier, because we designed that the central processor was more or the same in a way. The new pier has a different shape, and the difficulty of combining a new big element on an existing building was we tried to do this sort of tubular section, which also is actually motivated by the energy side. It kind of turns the back to the sun and keeps the heat in the winter. This works, and the energy consumption is in this new building is far less than half of what is in the existing building, and it will be classified as BREEAM Excellent when it's finished. Also, on the BREEAM side, we use wooden cladding on the outside, which is, I think, the first airport where this has been done. Partly because of the environmental issues, but also because wood doesn't reflect radar, provide radar reflexes, and is more convenient, better in relation to the operations of the airport. Inside, wooden floors, wooden beams, and sort of ceilings that are on triangulated systems with a light character to it. So that, let's see now, that was actually what I had thought to say about Gardermoen, the Oslo airport. We have designed a number of other airports, and at the moment we are in the process, and I thought I'd spend a couple of minutes telling you about the Istanbul airport, which we are involved in at the moment, we have been commissioned by the consortium who are going to build the airport, and we combined our forces with Grimshaw in London and Haptic Architects to do that job. Later stages will be done in cooperation with Turkish architects, and we look forward to meeting Turkish architects to see, who could we cooperate with. First phase of this airport is about 90 million passengers, which makes it a very big airport, and will later expand beyond 150 million passengers. Could even be the biggest in the world. I'm not allowed to show you drawings, but at the moment. But the same design principles, as I explained before, applies also to this airport. But there are issues of scale, because these buildings, they become bigger and bigger, And I think it's very, very important to be aware of the scale in terms of walking distances, in terms of, big congregations of people surging through the building, and also the human factor. How is it experienced by the people using the buildings? So these are additional issues that we need to solve in Istanbul. And of course also, as in most other airports, it's going to be the gateway, and in this case the gateway to the world city of Istanbul, with all the possibilities that entails. Because Istanbul is a modern city, it's at the same time, it's a huge city, at the same time has so much culture and so much history. And to sort of distill the essence of the arrival to Istanbul in the airport, that's a challenge that we are working on at the moment. And I hope we'll be able to come up with something that is worthwhile. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gudmund. I remember that when Gardermoen Airport was planned and decided, it was based on a number of